President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attended the Egyptian family iftar on Tuesday, during which he congratulated all Egyptians on Easter celebrations and made a number of important decisions. The annual event, which gathered key officials, heads of political parties, intellectuals, families of police and armed forces martyrs, youth and citizens of different walks, reflects President al-Sisi's keenness to meet with citizens to update them on the state's affairs and hear their problems, aspirations and dreams.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attended the Egyptian family iftar on Tuesday, during which he congratulated Egyptians on Easter and Eid al-Fitr celebrations. The president said the past few years have witnessed big challenges, adding that successes were bigger, noting that Ikhtiyar serial presented real events. President Sisi noted that Egypt has consumed its monetary reserve in a period full of crises, stressing that any president could not overcome such crisis, asserting that Arab countries supported since 2013 had contributed in preserving the Egyptian state. The president further confirmed that Egypt's steps were fixed and constant, and its determination was strong with the aim of establishing a new state. He said Egyptians had endured repercussions of implementing the economic reform program, which was crucial for promoting the economy in parallel with developing the infrastructure of the state. Meanwhile, the president welcomed Sinai tribes leaders and thanked them for cooperation with the state to achieve development in Sinai. During the meeting, the head of state said he had entrusted the government with holding an international press conference to announce the state's plan to deal with the current international economic crisis. He also instructed the government and at all states apparatus to support wheat cultivators in the country through increasing incentives for farmers with the aim of achieving self-sufficiency of wheat. President Sisi, in the meantime, entrusted the government to continue holding exhibitions that contribute in supplying basic and strategic commodities to citizens at reasonable prices until the end of the year. The president noted that the coming stage would witness a multiple subsidy for the private sector for helping in tackling its role in developing the country, stressing he would supply it with the necessary environment and capacities to realize such target. The head of state said an initiative to boost the national industries would be launched in parallel with consolidating role played by the private sector through expanding the industrial base for medium and large industries. In this respect, he noted that the government would announce a program that enables the private sector to participate in assets owned by the state with an annual target of $10 billion over 4 years. On debt, the president said the government would announce a plan to reduce national debt as a ratio of the national income. He said the government offers companies owned by the armed forces in the stock market before the end of the year.
The Republican People's Party hailed the 13 decisions which were announced by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi during the Egyptian family iftar, including boosting the spectra of political national dialogue with political forces and parties, as well as promoting government cooperation with the NGOs. Head of the Republican People Party, Engineer Hazem Omar, said that the mentioned decisions were welcomed by different bases of the party and other parties. Omar added that those decisions will give a momentum for the stability of the internal front. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi followed up the state budget's financial performance indicators on Tuesday during his meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli and Minister of Finance Mohammed Maid, as well as Deputy Finance Minister for the Public Treasury Ihab Abu Aish.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi followed up the state's budget's financial performance indicators on Tuesday. This came during the president's meeting with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Minister of Finance Mohammed Maid, as well as Deputy Finance Minister for the Public Treasury Ihab Abu Aish. The head of state gave his directives to hasten the executive steps by the government to implement digital transformation and fiscal inclusion, which contributes to improving the financial performance of the state as well as facilitating services offered to citizens. He instructed to strengthen efforts to update tax procedures and use of advanced electronic machinery and systems that contribute to improving the business's climate, encouraging the economic activity and ensuring the full and accurate collection of state revenues. Within the same context, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi directed the completion of the salary mechanism and labor gain taxes for all budgeting machines and economic bodies by the end of the current year. He also called on a speedy completion of the implementation of the VAT project for tourists in order to encourage shopping tourism. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassem Rodi said the meeting tackled monitoring and financial performance indicators of the state budget. They reviewed the most important financial results for the period from July 2021 to March 2022, which witnessed a tangible improvement compared to the same period of the previous fiscal year, when the total deficit to the domestic product decreased to 4.9% and the tax yield increased by 12%. The meeting also tackled the follow-up of the Ministry of Finance's efforts to digital transformation on all transactions and government services and the transition to non-cash transactions, as well as development and tax interest mechanisms of the customs system. President Sisi followed up efforts of the customs machinery and adherence to international standards for the imported goods by implementing pre-registration systems for shipments fully electronic starting this month, directing to expedite efforts leading to the extension of the time of the customs clearance.